welcome our today's speaker, Mrs. Neelam Khetarpal, who is Emeritus H Professor and Head Department Food and Nutrition, ex College of Commerce. Professor Khetarpal congratulate them in an interaction opportunity to the and the faculty. This interaction will bring new and proceed.
So maybe I will invite.
I am online. My video is not coming. Wait a minute. I think my video is not as, but I. So, thank you, Jyoti. It's my play introduce Khetrapal, who has a trail of long association with CCSHAU Hisar, having an outstanding experience of 41 years in various positions such as Emeritus Professor, Professor, Associate Director, Head of the Department of College of Science. She has immensely contributed to CCS Haryana Agriculture University Hisar. She has published 370 research papers, having good impact factors, 23 books, and more than 70 popular articles. During her service period, she guided research of 31 people.
Allowances so that your body gets everything it needs to function. The United Nations has set ending hunger, achieving food security, and improved nutrition and promoting sustainable agriculture as the second of its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, popularly known as SDGs, for the year 2030. But Global Food Security Challenge is straightforward by 2050. The world must feed 2 billion more people, an increase of a quarter from today's global population. India is also in a phase of nutritional transition. Before we set goal for nutritional security, in particular hidden hunger, we have to understand the drivers of change and the nutritional needs of our population. Indian diet and dietary requirements are in a continuous phase of transition with decreasing physical activity, increasing level of disposable income, and changing climatic conditions. It becomes imperative to study the composition of population, its dietary needs, and devise new guidelines in the backdrop of changing lifestyles and the rise in obesity and non-communicable diseases. Formulation of revised dietary goals and specific guidelines would help in providing required guidance to people in ensuring nutritional adequacy. The dietary guidelines can be directly applied for general population or specific physiological or high-risk groups to derive health benefits. They are also used by medical and health personnel, nutritionists, and dietitians. Now that the Indian apex agencies like ICMR have better understanding of basal metabolism of our indigenous population, and new dietary guidelines are ready to be implemented. Understanding these new guidelines and understanding the reasonings behind the changes in guidelines would stimulate critical thinking in our students. It gives me immense pleasure to know that such an important topic is being taken up by our own Professor Emeritus, Dr. Neelam Khetrapal. True is the saying that a teacher never really superannuates. Knowledge kept to oneself is no knowledge. It is our interaction with the new generation, our exchange of ideas that keeps us lively and adds to our own knowledge stores. It's a happy coincidence that today is Teachers' Day as well. There can't be a better way to celebrate than a fruitful academic discussion. I congratulate PI of this IDP Nahi program, Dr. K.D. Sharma ji, HDFM, Dr. Sangeeta, her entire team, and other faculty, as well as our teachers from different departments for their initiative. I welcome the resource person and participants and hope it will be a useful interaction. And as I have said that nutritional security is a key to have the population, which is again, if you are healthy, you have the nutritious diets, then you can think and rather you can implement or your new or innovative ideas. And for that purpose, as this program is being organized for our students, they can plan accordingly, they can think accordingly, and I would request to all the students, kindly ask as many questions as you can, because you will hardly get a chance to interact with such high reputed professors, so that down the line, if you go for higher studies or presently, if you want to have your career in this sector, you can learn better. I once again congratulate the organizers and thank the organizer for inviting me for this very important interactive lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Wisely said. What a perfect day to have an important lecture from our own teacher who has helped shaping the careers for present faculty and the future faculty as well. So we are truly honored to have respected and distinguished Professor Dr. Neelam Khetarpal with us today to share her insights on the crucial topic of recommended dietary allowances. Recommended dietary allowances play a pivotal role in promoting health and well-being, as they provide essential guidance on the nutritional requirements for individuals of all ages. As we gather here today, we are eager to hear Dr. Khetarpal's thoughts and expertise on this subject. Without further ado, I invite Madam to the virtual platform to enlighten us with her insights on recommended dietary allowances and how they contribute to a healthier society. Thank you for being here, Madam, and we look forward to your valuable comments and lecture. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamboj. Sir, the Vice Chancellor of CCSHAU Hisar, Dean PGS, Dr. K.D. Sharma, and Dr. Jyoti. The organizers, the organizing department, my parent department, Foods and Nutrition. I'm very grateful to them that they have given me this opportunity to share views on the very latest topic, that is RDA 2023. You all know that after every 10 years, these RDAs, they are revised. And the last RDAs were given in 2010. And then in 2020, the review committee again reconsidered the requirements. And then those committee recommendations have been finalized and they are being implemented. They are being implemented in this year, 2023. I would like to present my lecture on this very important topic. Let me just share the presentation. Why is not sharing? I don't know why it is not coming. Share window. Can you see my slides, please? Dr.
Not
Jyoti,
yet,
can you
ma'am.
tell me? Not yet?
Not yet visible.
Because not yet visible because I not yet.
Not visible. Please share the
Okay.
slide, madam.
I have
Yeah.
shared the slides. I will do it again. Please share window and share. You are presenting your screen. Why not? I don't know why it is not coming.
Ma'am, your screen is visible now.
Now it was visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible now?
No, ma'am, not now, but it was before.
Okay. Hello. हाँ मैं देखती हूँ just no problem, just within a minute it will come. I'm cancel here. It's there.
Yes, ma'am. Now
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
visible.
Now it's visible. Okay, should I start? Should I start? मैंने इसको full screen ही लिया हुआ है, but I think it is because organized. हाँ मैं उससे भी करके देखती हूँ. एक बार मैं दोबारा से करती हूँ. मैं दोबारा से इसको देती हूँ. हाँ okay. और now is it okay? It's on the full screen now.
No, ma'am.
Still not visible, ma'am.
मेरी तरफ तो ये बिल्कुल full screen पे है अब. मैं फिर करती हूँ. Okay, I do it again. No problem. Is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I just start as I have told that the topic is understanding recommended dietary allowances for Indians. And these recommendations, as you know, they are set up by the Indian Council of Medical Research and the other organization which is under ICMR, that is NIN, National Institute of Nutrition, and the experts from both the organizations, they have the meetings along with the experts, and then they recommend the RDAs. And why there is a need for revision after every 10 years? It is because, as you know, that over the past few years or past decade, our dietary patterns have changed. Our lifestyle has changed. It is because of the economic reasons, it is because of the nutrition transition at the community level. And because of these economic and nutrition transition, we we have faced many problems. Earlier, we were facing the problem of malnutrition, especially undernutrition. You must have heard protein calorie malnutrition, kwashiorkor, marasmus. Now those days are gone because we are not having much problem of undernutrition, but underweight, but we are having the problem of stunting and wasting. And on the other extreme end, some of the population is having the problem of obesity and obesity related degenerative diseases. Therefore, our country is facing double burden of this kind of malnutrition. And in, in view of all these changes which are happening or which have happened over the years regarding food intake, our access to food, our lifestyle changes, nutritional requirements have to be reviewed after a decade. And earlier, as you know, in 1984, sorry, hello, Hanji. Okay, okay. Because
Dr. Khetarpal, you're not audible to us. Dr. Khetarpal, please unmute yourself.
Dr. Jyoti? Dr. Jyoti? Dr. Jyoti, please call her. Dr. Jyoti,
Yes,
Can
madam.
you,
please call her.
audible? Am I audible?
Yes, madam, you are now.
Okay. But I had not changed any settings.
No worries, ma'am. Some technical glitch maybe. No worries. You may kindly pull up the slides back again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, is it visible now? Are the slides
Ma'am,
visible?
You are audible to us, but the slides are not visible to us.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what is happening again and again here.
Ma'am, could you please send the slides to me and I will pull up
Oh,
those.
no. Okay, I can send you the slide.
Okay.
Okay, I'll send you.
Sure.
At RDA, this mail of Dr. Sangeeta HOD?
Exactly, madam.
HOD?
Yes. Yes, madam.
Okay.
Perfect.
I have sent.
I'm checking your email, ma'am.
Have you received?
Not yet. It must be underway.
I have sent.
Sure, ma'am. Okay. Yes, madam. Ma'am? Dr.
Yes.
Khetapal?
Yes.
Dr. Khetapal?
Please go ahead. Yes.
Which slide number? Can we scroll up?
Second one.
Okay, perfect.
Second one.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, madam.
Okay.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Dr. Jyoti, am I audible?
Yes, madam, you are.
Well, go ahead.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. Next, now to the next slide. Next slide, please, Jyoti. Next slide, please. Yes. Yes. Now, there is one more term, that is dietary reference intakes. What is that? It includes all the 5 different definitions like EAR, RDA, adequate intake, UL, AMDR. And these are DRI, that is a collection of all these values so as to express the person's need for different nutrients on the basis of the lifestyle and gender. What is EAR? I have already told, that is average, estimated average requirement. RDA, you know all well, recommended dietary allowance. Adequate intake is AI. UL is tolerable upper intake limit. And this AMDR, it is the acceptable macronutrients or this dietary ranges. Next, please. These are the uses of the DRIs. RDA, as I will tell later on, that this is a very generous value. It covers almost 97 to 98% of the population. And EAR, it is used to assess the groups, and it covers almost nutrient requirements of about 50% of the population. Next, please. Next, please. Jyoti, next. Next, please. Hello. Next, please. Jyoti, next, please. Next. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Yes, fine. Now I will explain what is EAR. Students must know because it must be a new term to them, and this term was not there earlier in the recommendations. Because this is the basis for RDA. This EAR represents that intake of nutrient which can meet the requirement of about 50% of the healthy population. And this value is very useful when you have to evaluate or the adequacy of the meals or you are doing planning for the nutrient intake. Therefore, if the value is below the EAR, that means that nutrient intake will not fulfill the nutritional requirement and that can cause deficiency. That can cause inadequate nutrient intake if somebody is taking intake below the EAR. And this EAR is mostly used for meal planning of the individuals, groups, or population. Next. Next, please. Yes. Now, how to derive the EAR? This committee has to review hundreds and thousands of research papers so as to determine the requirement of a nutrient, how much is needed in our diet. This EAR is based on the scientific evidence and the intake of that nutrient, which can meet the requirement of about 50% of the population, that is EAR. And then it is the basis for RDA. Next. Now, after EAR comes RDA. Once the EAR has been established, the committee has to decide what will be the recommended value for everybody, for each individual. Therefore, EAR will act as the basis, and then above EAR, sufficient daily amounts of the nutrients will be added so as it can fulfill the nutritional requirement of all healthy 97 to 98% of the population. This recommendation considers deficiencies also. Therefore, it is set above the EAR. And RDA is used as a guide for the individual. And EAR is used as a guide for the population, for the groups. RDA is only a target. And that means if somebody, as I've told, that if somebody is taking lower nutrient intake, his nutrient intake is lower, then the EAR deficiency can occur. But if somebody is taking intake just less than the RDA, it may not necessarily indicate that the deficiency can take place or the need for that nutrient has not been fulfilled. Therefore, in case of RDA, deficiency risk is very, very low. Next. Next term is adequate intake. When there is no scientific basis, not many scientific papers are available to calculate the EAR, then the estimates are made on the basis of just that how much intake is being taken by the population, and that population is not suffering from any deficiency disease or not suffering from any toxicity symptoms. And in that case, that value is taken as the adequate intake. That means in case of insufficient scientific evidence, this adequate intake is there for certain nutrients. It is based on the experimentally or observed approximation values, how much average amount of nutrient intake is there for a group of healthy population. It is not scientifically proven, not on the basis of 100,000 studies, but it is just on the basis of observed or experimentally determined approximation value. And when this adequate intake is set, it will target naturally that more research is required for setting the EAR and RDA for that particular nutrient. And this value can only be used as a nutrient goal for the individuals. Next. Next, please. Yes, next value is tolerable upper intake level. This is the highest level of the nutrient intake, as it implies from the title only. And this level poses no risk, no adverse effect on the health of most of the individuals if they take such kind of value for a long-term basis. The nutrient intake, even if, for example, in vitamin C, recommendation is 65 milligram for an adult man. But you know about the macro doses of vitamin C, the person can take up to 200 milligram, 300 milligram, but still they do not pose any adverse health effect on the individual, even for a long-term basis, because that is a water-soluble nutrient and that passes through the extra is not absorbed and that passes through the urine. And the maximum limit of a nutrient that poses no health issue, that is the tolerable intake level of that very nutrient. Or you can say it is the maximum dose for daily intake of for a specific nutrient on a long-term basis, not on the basis of a week or month. It is on the long-term basis. And this UL, that is a guide for limiting intake, that up to this much level we can take, though the RDA is X, but we can take up to Y level. And after that, it can create toxic levels. And beyond that, we don't have to take. That Y value is the tolerable upper intake level. And you know, there are individual differences also, how much tolerance they have to the maximum upper intake. And some may not be able to tolerate 200 milligram of vitamin C, other may tolerate up to 300 milligram. And these individual differences are there, but the level which doesn't cause toxic effects in majority of the population, that point is the total upper intake. In case of many vitamin-soluble, water-soluble vitamins, minerals like arsenic, boron, nickel, silicon, vanadium, the nutrient intake is expressed not as EA or RDA, that is expressed as tolerable upper intake level. Next. Then is the acceptable macronutrient distribution ranges. This expresses the range of macronutrients like protein, carbohydrate, fat. And this range is associated with less risk of chronic disease. What are chronic diseases? Like diabetes, obesity, heart diseases, cancers. I mean, this we have to express in a range, this to this percent of calories from X nutrient. And at the same time, this range provides adequate intake of the essential nutrients. Naturally, mostly because macronutrients are there, they are the source of energy, and they are generally expressed as percentage of energy. For example, we express that this much carbohydrate percent of the calories, this much percent of protein, this much percent of fat from the mean of the calorie range. And there is no RDA for the calories. We will come to know later on. We generally express EAR, that is example of AMDR. Similarly, for the physical activity, we express in terms of DRI. Next, please. Now, from this very normal distribution curve, I just want to tell you what is EAR and what is RDA. As you know that EAR is at the median value of the normal distribution curve. and the average daily intake level of that nutrient, which means half of the healthy population in a particular category, that is EAR. If it covers 97.5% of the population, that nutrient intake, that is RDA. EAR is at the median value and RDA will be at the end of the curve, where the curve just stops. Next. I have just wanted to tell you about the difference between EAR and RDA, which we have done till now, that EAR is only set for nutrients which are functional markers. I suppose you may not be knowing functional markers because in plant breeding genetics, we talk about these, but in nutrition, we don't have, but still in nowadays, functional biological markers or biomarkers, they are there for many nutrients and they are called as or used as nutritional status markers. And they are the products or precursors of many enzymatic processes which are measured in the plasma or serum. This will meet 50% of the population. And RDA, EAR is the basis for calculating the RDA. It will meet 97.5% of the population need, and it will prevent deficiency also and chronic diseases too, if somebody is taking the intake as per RDA. Next. This is the definition for RDA, as I've told you, that EAR plus 2 standard deviation of EAR. This is used to calculate the RDA. And this will meet the nutrient requirements of 97 to 98% of the healthy individuals in a particular life state and gender group. Next. Again, in this, I have tried to give you the difference between EAR and RDA. You know that here in this, A and B, they are towards the, this is the center EAR value, and they are not mean exactly at EAR. They are taking less nutrient. Their daily nutrient intake is less than the EAR. That means they may or may not have the nutritional inadequacy. But the person C, he is between EAR and RDA, and he is having less risk of getting nutritional deficiency. And if the person is taking value exactly at the RDA level, then he will be safe nutritionally. And here will come after RDA, then comes the tolerable upper limit. Next, please. This I want to tell you that if the intake is low at this end, the person is taking high intake per day of a particular nutrient. And if the intake falls below the EAR, then the intake can probably be inadequate. And if he is taking intake between EAR and RDA, that means it's more difficult to assess and the intake may be adequate, but the chances are greater or equal that it is inadequate. If it is above, it is at the RDA level or it is above the RDA level, then intake will be adequate because RDA covers the needs of 97.5% of the population. Next, please. These are different factors you all know which affect this RDA. Next, please. And you know two terms which are being used in defining the RDA: reference man and reference women. Next. In this committee, certain changes have been made in the definition of reference man and reference women. In 1989, the reference man was of 60 kg and reference women, she was of 50 kg. In 2010, the data was based on the anthropometry, which was taken from the NNMB, and Indian nutritional profile from 10 states, and it was mainly taken from the rural India, whereas 89, it was calculated have the all India character. And therefore, in the next, it was 60 and 55 kg. Next, please. Next. In 2020, now more resources were used for taking the height and weight. National Nutrition Monitoring Bureau, 2015-16, NFHS 4, that was survey was carried out and its report was published in 2015-16, WHO and IAAP. The data from all these institutions were taken to calculate the body weight values for the reference man and women throughout the lifespan. And therefore, one difference is there in the age. In the previous RDAs, reference men or women, they were from 20 to 39 years of age. Now, they are from 19 to 39 years. Man was of 65. In 2020, the body weight of the reference healthy man is 65 kg, whereas in 2010, it was 60 kg. In 55 kg now, and 55 kg in 2010 also, but 50 kg was in the 1989 recommendations. And these body weights have been fixed for the normal BMI, that is 18.5 to 22.9 kg per meter square. Next, please. Now we come to all the nutrients one by one. I take the most important nutrient, that is energy. You know that the BMI values, earlier reduction was 5% that was used, but now 10% and 9% reductions have been made in the BMI for males and females respectively. 10% reduction in BMI of males, 9% reduction in BMI of females. And second character, which has been modified, earlier committee used higher physical activity level, but the present committee proposed a reduction in the PAL. Why? Because in this era, we are sedentary workers. Most of the time, most of the population is sedentary. Therefore, reduction has been made in the physical activity level also. And that has affected the requirement for energy. Additional energy requirement for pregnant women, that is the same as in the previous RDAs. But in the case of infants and children, FAO, WHO, UNU 2004 equations were taken, but now we have used WHO child growth standard data for the body weight of the children. That is why we had to revise the energy requirement of children. And the children above 6 years of age and those boys and girls of 13 to 17 years, their requirement is the same as suggested by the previous committee. But it has been emphasized that this age group should have moderate physical activity. They should not have sedentary levels. They should have moderate physical activity. Next. These values in red, they are of the previous year, and in black, they represent the present committee recommendations. And one more important thing is, no RDA has been given for the energy. Estimated average requirement has been given for the energy. EAR is there, no RDA. And you know that in case of all these age groups, the energy requirement has been reduced because of reduction in the physical activity ratio. Physical activity level, sorry. But if you small change in the energy level of children, not much change, but as far as the energy RDA for 10 to 17 year are concerned, they have been increased. Why? There are two reasons. One, the source is different now. Now FAO, WHO, UNO, UNU 2004 equations have been used, and not the WHO alone, and higher PAL has been recommended that these children should be taking moderate physical activity. That is why their requirement has also been increased. But in all the other cases, energy requirement has been reduced due to our lifestyle changes. Next. And as I was telling you about acceptable macronutrient distribution range, as I've told that this is the range of intake for energy nutrients because they provide energy. If you take more of the energy, then there are chances of getting obesity and obesity-related diseases. From carbohydrates, for example, there is a range, 45 to 65% of calories. From fat, 20 to 35% of the calories from fat, 10 to 35% calories from protein, and they differ from country to country. These values are different in the developed nation and in the developing nations. And this represents the EMDR. Next. Next, please. Yes. Now, the next important nutrient is protein. While considering the revised protein requirements, there is one thing that in this case, high quality protein sources that has been used as the basis for requirement. And second is that protein digestibility correction value that has been removed. But instead of that, median obligatory nitrogen loss that has been taken into account at the level of 48 milligram per kg as per WHO 2007. And on that basis, the safe protein requirement comes to 0.83 gram per kg per day. Earlier, it was 1 gram per kg per day. And second is that for calculating the nutritive value of each food, the protein value of each food, now you know that food composition tables have also been revised. And that is based on the Indian Food Composition Table 2017. That is this, because of this reason also, protein requirement is different. Then the protein content of each food group has been corrected for the true fecal digestibility value, which was not earlier done as per WHO 2007. And all these four changes, they have been made to ensure safe protein intake. Then there is a different proportion of cereal, legume, milk composition. For example, we say that vegetarian protein sources, they don't have good quality protein as compared to animal sources of protein. But if we take the combination of cereals, pulses, milk and milk products, then we get the protein quality equivalent to that of animal protein. Earlier, we were recommending cereal, legume, milk, 11:1:3. Now, the amount of cereals that has been reduced to 3 only. 3 parts cereal, 1 part legume, and 2.5 parts of the milk to meet the daily protein requirement. Next. These again in the red fonts, these are the previous values, and these you will come to know because 0.83 gram per kg body weight is there, and that's why the protein RDA has been reduced in case of adult man, women also, and in case of pregnant women. In earlier, total was given 82.2 grams. Now, in all the second, third trimesters, different values have been recommended, plus additional 9.5 grams per day. to, if she is a sedentary worker, 46 plus 9.5, 55.5. If she is in the third trimester, then 46 plus 22. And this will come to about 55.5, 55.5, and in third trimester, it will come to about 77 gram per day. And whereas 82.2 gram per day was recommended for the whole period of pregnancy earlier. Then in case of lactating women also, the recommendation is again reduced from 77.9 to 72, 70 to 68. The additional amount has been revised, and this will add it up to the sedentary worker 46 plus 17, 46 plus 30. Then in case of infants also, they had recommended gram protein per kg body weight per day, but now they have given the total amount of protein, 8 gram per day. Similarly, in case of infants, 6 to 12, 10.5 gram per day. And 1 to 3 years, earlier it is 12.5, reduced from 16.7. This group, age group also reduced protein intake, 7 to 9 also 23 instead of 29.5. But in case of boys and girls, 10 to 12 years, protein requirement reduced. Boys 13 to 15, again reduced. And 16 to 18, again reduced. And diets for sedentary and moderate men and women, they have been modified on the basis of revised energy requirements. Next. Fats and oils. This is a very important nutrient as far as, because if the intake is very high, this may be the reason for the obesity and obesity-related diseases. And second important thing is what kind of fats and oils should be taken. How much omega-3 should be taken, how much omega-6 fatty acids should be taken, how much PUFA, how much saturated, and how much unsaturated. On the basis of FAO-WHO recommendations, they have been used as the basis for calculating the requirement for optimal fetal and infant growth, development, maternal health. All these factors have been taken into consideration while revising the fats and oils requirements. The requirements are the same as in 2010. For sedentary, moderate, and heavy worker, this was 20, 30, and 40 gram of visible fat per day for adult men, and 20, 25, and 30 gram per day for sedentary, moderate, and heavy adult women. And this is the same as in 2010. But before 2010, there was a single value, if you will see the table of RDA. In that case, in 1989, only single value of visible fat requirement was given, RDA was given. Whereas in 2010 and 2020, they are different values for different activity levels. And they are the same, no change has been made. So that we take sufficient amount of individual fatty acids, and this is again consistent with the FAO-WHO 2008 recommendations. We have what type of visible fat is there, should be the correct combination of vegetable oils, so that gives us optimal ratio of saturated PUFA and MUFA, and that is more important. Next. Yes. This is the fat requirement. You know, these values are the same in case of adult man and women. Only in this case, infants and children, 6 to 12 months infants, the value has been increased, and in the children 1 to 3 years old, so this value is decreased, because infancy, human milk may not be, breast milk may not be sufficient to provide sufficient amount of fat. That is why the visible fat intake has been increased. And in these cases, boys, girls, in case of girls, the requirement is increased 45, And in case of 13 to 16, 18 years, boys and girls both, you will find fat intake has been increased. Fat intake is not more than in the previous year for girls up to 15 years, whereas in 16 to 18 years boys, again, the figures have been reduced. That means because this visible fat requirement, that is in proportion to the EAR, and they are not in proportion to the RDA. That is why these changes are there in the fat intake. That is why when the energy requirement has been changed, and then the visible fat requirement has also been changed. Next, please. Then carbohydrates. Quality and quantity. Very important. Not the quantity alone. Quality and quantity of carbohydrates is very important so as to maintain good health, because it can cause nutrition related chronic disorders, non-communicable diseases like, as I've told you, diabetes, then cancers, heart diseases. If the quantity is more of the starchy vegetables, starchy foods, grains, then it will provide more of the calories from there, more amount of carbohydrates. It can lead to obesity and related diseases. Similarly, if the quality of carbohydrates is good, it is containing the resistant starch, it is containing more of the fibers also. This is good for health. And for the first time, RDA for carbohydrates has been given in this year, and minimum intake is 100 to 130 gram carbohydrates per day, because you know that our brain requires glucose so as to have good concentration and to do the mental work. And this much carbohydrate is recommended for ages 1 year and above, so that brain can get enough glucose for utilization. Next. And these values have been given for the first time, RDA values. As I've said, 130 for men and women. In pregnancy, 45 gram has been added. And in case of lactation also, because the calorie requirement is more, therefore carbohydrate requirement has also been more. Similarly, in case of children from 1 to 18 years, the requirement is the same as for the adult man or women. Next. Oh, sorry, there is one thing. And for infants 0 to 6 months, this is not the RDA, this is the average intake, not the RDA. Next. Dietary fiber intake. The first time the committee has considered the recommendations for fiber intake based on the energy intake, and they have given the recommendation that for 2000 kilocalories, at least 30 gram dietary fibers should be there in the diet. Next. Next, please. Then we talk about the micronutrients, minerals, especially calcium and phosphorus. You know that extensive deliberations have been made for the recommendations on for calcium, phosphorus, zinc, selenium, and iodine. These are very, very important minerals. Some are required for the bone, some is required for growth, some is antioxidant, some is required for the thyroid gland hormones. And that is why all these minerals are very important. And if you compare the RDA for calcium 2010 and 2020, this year they have given more RDA values for calcium. This is about 1.5 times the recommendation made earlier. And for all age groups except the infants, the recommendation was for phosphorus, that is in the ratio of 1:1. 1:1 calcium, 1 part, phosphorus, 1 part. And for infants, it is 1.5 times phosphorus. It is 1.5 calcium and 1 phosphorus for infants. And you will see that the requirement for for calcium has been increased. It was 600 milligram earlier. Now it is 1.5 times more, 1000 milligram. Women also same. Pregnant women, 200 milligram has been added. And lactating women, it is the same as in previous year. And for infants, again, the amount has been decreased from 500 to 300 milligrams. And for children of different age groups, different RDAs for have been given for different age groups, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and then 7 to 9. Earlier, it was one value for all the age groups. And for boys and girls, 10 to 18 years, earlier it was 800 milligram for all the age groups for both boys and girls. But now the recommendation has been made for each age group, like 850, 1000 as in case of adult men, 16 to 18, they require even 50 milligram more than the adult man or women. For lactating women, I have said that additional amount of 200 milligram is added to the ER times the RDA, 1000 milligram. And similarly, the for the pregnant women also, they have added 10% of CV and the RDA has been set up at the 1200 milligram also. For the postmenopausal women also, the requirement is more for the calcium and it is the same as in case of pregnancy or lactation, 1200 milligram. This is important. This has been recommended this year. Next. Magnesium. Magnesium value for magnesium has also been given earlier too in 2010, but at this level you will find the values have been given, have been increased in 2020 because it is a very important mineral and the EAR was 320 milligram per day and RD on
Hello, hello, hello.